Hi, it's Gene, retired in Mexico, and welcome to our Van Morrison Top 30 Songs. Before I forget, because I forget a lot, hit that like button or the subscribe button. It's really important, the engagement. It's the oil that runs this machine, so please take time to hit that like or subscribe button. I also have a Patreon page. If you're interested, you can look below. You can support me there for free or for $2 a month. It's up to you. But any engagement or help to fund these videos is helpful. And I want to welcome my guest today, uh, Jim, aka Professor Gumbo. And I'm delighted to have him. We're longtime friends. I told him in the last video we were friends for 50 years, but I think it's 52 years because I think
I
when
think
we met
so, yeah.
when I think I met when I was 15 and he was 16. And actually, Jim introduced me to Van Morrison. So I'm really pleased to have him on the channel here. And what we're going to do is we're going to count down our 30 favorite songs. And those songs are going to be presented in blocks of five until we get to the top five. And then we're going to take turns. And we'll talk briefly about the bottom ones, and then we'll increase our discussion a little bit as we go along. Last time I went first, so I'm going to have Jim go first this time. But before we start, Jim, you're a retired teacher. Tell me what subjects you taught and what your favorite and least favorite things about teaching are.
I taught mostly, well, I was an English teacher, but also an art teacher. I did a split assignment for a while, but for 30 years, I taught English, high school English, and I just loved it, absolutely loved it. Uh, it got to where my memory started, it wasn't as keen as it once was. So, maybe a little bit of brain fog. So it was time to retire, and I'm glad that I've retired. But what did I love about teaching the students, and being able to talk about stuff that I thought they'd find interesting and that would interest me. And I found I was a successful teacher because I loved the students and I was enthusiastic about what I did. My enthusiasm rubbed off. So, so anyway, now I'm just an old guy.
And your least favorite thing was what? Teacher meetings, you told me, I think?
Yeah, it's all jumping through the hoops, and that got worse as it went on. And the thing is that being a teacher for so long, and I was highly regarded by administrators, so I was able to pretty much do what I wanted to do. But newer teachers weren't always able to get away with the kind of freeform type of teaching. They had to follow a regimen a bit more. And, I got in at the right time and I got out at the right time because what it is now, I feel bad for people who are new teachers now. I mean, I hope things change. I really do because I would never discourage anyone from being a teacher, but, you know, whether they would love it the way I loved it, I'm not sure.
You also taught yearbook, right?
I did. Yes, I was the yearbook advisor for God knows how long. And that was sort of a combination of English and art. It was the way that I got the job at our alma mater. I taught at the school that you and I met at, and the teacher, I mean, excuse me, the principal there was a former teacher of mine. Cindy and I were both in one of her classes, her first year of teaching, and she was the principal. And I had done my all of my internship in another district in the Paradise Valley district. But I went to see her and say, "Hey, guess what, Melba? I'm going to be a teacher." And she said, "Guess what, Jim? I have a job for you.
Oh,
If
excellent.
you'll do yearbook as well as teaching a split assignment of English and art." So,
So for those of you who are older viewers, you might remember a show called Welcome Back, Kotter. Kotter,
yes,
Kotter, with what's his name? Who played Vinnie Barbarino? John Travolta. And so Jem is kind of a Cotter character. He taught at his alma mater. So, all right. Well, we're not doing any star ratings because these are our favorite songs. These are all five-star songs. And so, Jem, you want to go ahead and count down 30 through 26?
I will. Briefly, if I may, I just want to say how I got into Van Morrison because Van Morrison is the reason, or at least seems to be the main reason I love rock and roll. When I was just a little kid, I mean, we're talking about 1966, when I was 9 years old, my grandmother used to listen to the AM radio when she was putzing around the house. My parents hated rock and roll, but my grandmother listened to the top 40 stations. And Phoenix was unusual in that when Shadows of Night did a cover of Them's Gloria, the Them version was actually played in Phoenix. And I would hear it on the radio and I loved it. I thought their name, Them, was strange. I had no idea it was Van Morrison, but it got me to love Van Morrison. I love that song. And then when we were in high school, there was a really good progressive radio station, alternative radio station, KDKB, and they would play a lot of Van Morrison. We're talking early '70s now, especially a guy named Toad Hall in the morning,
Oh
and
yeah.
he would play songs from St. Dominic's Preview, and I just would love them. And this is when Cindy and I just started dating when we were sophomores, and I told her how much I loved, these songs. And the very first album, a Van Morrison album that she bought me, was St. Dominic's Preview. For it was the first Christmas present that she bought me. And I found out that Van Morrison was the guy that was in them. And it's been a love affair ever since, except for a little bit of sourness during COVID. But it's okay now. It's all good.
All right.
And I have a shirt that says Van Morrison, the man, the myth, the legend.
I love it.
So, my top 30. First of all, to choose top 30 Van Morrison songs for somebody who loves Van Morrison's music the way that I do is crazy. I mean, I have 30 and I could easily have 30 more. Um, but the one thing I want to point out is most of the songs that I'm going to mention, I'm defaulting to the original. I'm defaulting to a live version. There are a few places where the studio version is just amazing, but as great as Van is in the studio, maybe it's because I'm just so familiar with the albums. For instance, Astral Weeks and Moondance, my two favorite albums of all time. And yet, I have lots of songs from there, but not a single one from the actual album. They're all live versions of them. Okay. So I just, I don't want anyone to get the idea I'm saying those versions are wrong. They're not. They're great. But as you'll see, there's versions that have things about them that I like better. So I will tell you which albums they're from. And in many cases, they're from what I would call an what's not unauthorized, but an unofficial recording, which people call bootlegs, but
Hmm.
unofficial recording. But they're fairly easy to get if you know the internet, and so. And Gene, once and you might be able to find images of these once we start going. All right,
Okay.
so 30 through 26. We start with a beautiful spiritual song by Van Morrison, In the Garden, which is from No Guru, No Method, No Teacher. And it's a very mystical song and a very spiritual song, but I like the more up-tempo version that he does on my favorite Van um, bootleg, if you will, and that is the Live in Montreux 1990. It's the one that closes. The version of In the Garden that closes that. Uh, it's very up tempo. It just really carries you on with the momentum. Van is getting into it, and then the audience is going crazy. The Montreux audience, and then as Van is leaving the stage, you hear Georgie Fame, his MC at the time and organ player, saying, "Van the man, give it up for Van the man. God bless Van Morrison. Mango time." And it's wonderful. So it's a great, if you make a top 30 of these songs, which is I did, that's what closes it. Number 29, See Me Through and the Burning Ground, which
Mm.
again is from a it's from the live at the live at the waterfront, which is in Belfast, and in 1997. Now, it's both of those are Van Morrison songs. See Me Through was from Enlightenment, but the Burning Ground is really what I like it the most for. That's Burning Ground is from the Healing Game, and which a great album from 1997. And it has, I still don't know what dump the jute means, but dump the jute on the burning ground. And he and Brian Kennedy are going back and forth with that. And the song goes on for about 15 minutes. Then number 28 is I'll Take Care of You, which is a ballad from Too Long in Exile, which segues into It's a man's world, the James Brown song. And in between, there's a bit of uh, Sly and the Family Stone, Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself Again. And that version, that's been done live a number of times, but that version was from the uh, live in San Francisco. Okay. And it's just, really a great medley, another long one. In the Afternoon is my number 27. In the Afternoon is one of Van Morrison's most beautiful songs. And it was originally on Days Like This, if there's a such thing as a lesser Van Morrison album, a lesser Van Morrison album. But this version is from the the live album that you were talking about that was a Christmas uh,
Mhm.
release and in Germany. And it's just really, really a great version that when he does in the afternoon, but then he goes flip, flop, and fly. And then he goes into the we talked about this before that don't you feel my leg? Because if you feel my leg, you're gonna feel my thigh. And I it makes me smile all the time. And finally, uh, the first of many songs from Moondance. So I didn't choose the Moondance version, but Into the Mystic. Um, a lot of people consider that to be Van's best song. I consider it to be a great song, but there's like at least three songs from Moondance that are better. But I love the song. What I love about it is the way he plays with lyrics, which he does a lot. He does sound alikes. Uh, it sounds at first like he's saying, "We were born before the wind," BORN. But it also, we were born, we were carried before the wind. Uh, Also, younger than the sun, is he talking about the sun in the sky or the SON sun? Who knows? Um, and then he sings into the misty. It's
Mhm.
the name of the song is Into the Mystic, but he sings Into the Misty, and a version that tops the studio album, in my opinion, is the one from It's Too Late to Stop Now. So the only thing it lacks is at the end, the where he says it's too late to stop now. It's not on this one, but it's on the original studio one. But
Yeah.
still, so in the garden, see me through burning ground. I'll take care of you in the afternoon and into the mystic.
Okay, thank you, Jim. And I want to let the viewers know too that when we get through the count, I'm going to go ahead and make a playlist of all of our songs. And of course, I won't be able to put bootleg versions on, but on the Wallbanger Reactions Spotify channel, what we'll do is we'll make a list, a playlist, and you can play these songs. So where I don't have the bootleg version available, we'll just plug in the studio version if that's all right with you. But then you can play these songs. All right, so let me go ahead with mine. And I found this exercise also to be brutal, very brutal. Some of my songs that didn't make it are probably gonna shock some of the viewers. I don't even really want to mention them, but let's go ahead and do my next five, which is number 30 is a Mose Allison cover, If You Only Knew, from A Sense of Wonder. And I just love this one. This is the one where the lyrics are just great. If you only knew what scruples go down in gin and vermouth. And if you only knew what happens in the back of the store, and if you only knew what a man gets for telling the truth, and it's just a great song, and I love it. It's on the second side of A Sense of Wonder, wonderful. Number 29, I wanted to get a song on here that features my friend Rick Schlosser, who's a drummer for Van Morrison that retired here in San Miguel de Allende. And the song that I chose is Wild Night. He's the drummer on that song. Love the lyrics, all the girls dressed up for each other. Just a really up-tempo rocker, and I love that song. Um, I kind of had to choose between that one and Domino. Those are kind of the two kind of old-time classic rockers, and I went with Wild Night, but they're close.
Good choice.
Number 28 from Hymns to the Silence is Take Me Back, the song that I've discovered recently. Take me way, 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 way back to when times were simpler and Radio Luxembourg and all these. And oh, I wanted to let me say too that I watched Jim, I watched a video called Cypress Avenue that he did 10 years ago in 2015. And he
Hmm.
does a concert on Cypress Avenue and he closes that concert with on Hindford Street. It's marvelous, but I didn't put that on here because I like that version. And it's a BBC video. I don't know if it's ever been bootlegged, but it's a similar song to Take Me Back. That's why I'm talking about it now. And so I went with Take Me Back, but the songs are very, very similar. And I think they're from the same album. Is On Hindford Street also from Hymns to Silence?
Yes.
I think so. And okay, so my number 27 is Lonely Avenue from Too Long in Exile. And this is the one where he sings, you, give me the blues. Opens with alto sax, has a wonderful harmonica solo in it. It's a Ray Charles cover, and I love his version. I love the Ray Charles version also. Lonely Avenue is one of my favorite Ray Charles songs. And what Van does is he makes it into a Van Morrison song. Absolutely love it. Number 26, I can't believe that it's this low on my list, but it's a song that I love. These are all 5 stars. Summertime in England, 15 minutes long, wonderful. There is no why, it just is. All the quotes of Coleridge and Wordsworth and all the name dropping that he does. Great song. And I'm going to go with a live version on this one. I almost went with the 1980 Montreux, but I'm going to go with the 1982 Rock Palast version where he does a little Bob Dylan. He quotes from Idiot Wind. And
Hmm.
it's great talking about being at you're at the bottom, he says. It's great. It's just a little 4 verses that he intersperses there. So that's it. If you only knew Wild Night, Take Me Back, Lonely Avenue, Summertime in England. All right, your turn.
And mentioning summertime in England, I would like to point out, as you touched on, Van is incredibly well read, very literate, and he name drops literary figures on a constant basis, in his songs, especially from about 1974 on. You'll find that in there. Okay, so 25 through 21. 25 is a song that I'm trying to think if I have it on an unofficial recording or not. I don't think I do. But even if I do, nothing beats the original studio version of You Don't Pull No Punches, but You Don't Push the River from Veedon Fleece. Um, this is Van doing crazy mysticism here. He says, you know, William Blake, and the Eternals, and the Sisters of Mercy, and Baba, Mayor Baba. So like something that Van Morrison and Pete Townsend have in common is that they have both had great songs mentioning Mayor Baba, the guru, which is funny because later Van had no guru, no method, no teacher. But looking for the Veedon fleece, and his just the song almost spirals. And it's like I can imagine the song spiraling and Van just, it just keeps going on and on. And I wish it would never end. It's a long song, but I wish it would never end. Um, Then another one that he didn't do that often, though he did do it a bit when it first came out, from No Guru, No Method, No Teacher, and that is Tir na Nog. Now,
Mm.
I mentioned before that I am very fond of anything Van does that harkens back to his Irish heritage. And Tir na Nog is a in Celtic mythology. It's like it's like a Celtic afterlife. And so that's what he uses it for. And he's singing to his loved ones, to his loved one, and how someday they'll be together again in Tir na Nog. But he says, we can be reborn, but then again, I wouldn't want that, would you? And so it's like Van never getting what he wants. He wants to live in Tir na Nog with this love of his, but he also doesn't want to die. And it's a beautiful song. And then the first of the four songs from Astral Weeks, which is pretty actually five songs from Astral Weeks, an 8 song album. Um, and that's Madame George.
Okay.
Now, uh, uh, the we talked about Van doing and the love that loves to love that loves to love that loves to love that love, and that's a great part of the song. The question is, who the hell is he talking about, Madame George? Um, it's like at Madame George, first the name Madame George, is it a man or a woman? Plus, when he sings it, just most people swear that he's not saying George. He's saying Madame Joy. But the name of the song is Madame George. And it seems to be a remembrance of when he was a teenager, Van and some of his friends going over to Madame George's place, smoking cigarettes, maybe doing some illegal drugs. We're not quite sure. But he says, she jumps up and says, Lord have mercy, I think that it's the cops. And immediately he drops everything he got down to the street below. Um, it's just a very magical song, a very mystical song. Keeping in the whole mystical thing, listen to The Lion from St. Dominic's Preview. There are a number of great versions of this, but I am sold on the original version from St. Dominic's Preview.
Okay.
Um, Mostly not so much the lyrics, but when he gets into the non-lyrics, when he starts grunting and groaning and even growling, he actually begins to growl like a lion. And I would say that 9,999 singers would sound silly doing that. But
Yeah.
Van does it because he totally means it. And so it's a centerpiece of one of my absolute favorite Van Morrison albums, St. Dominic's Preview. And it's only grown on me over the years. I shall search my soul for the
Mhm.
lion inside of me. Then we're still staying mystical, but now we're getting a little bit more doo-wop with the Healing Game, which is the closing track from the Healing Game. And back on the corner again in the Healing Game, it's like street corner doo-wop singing, and he's with Georgie Fame and Brian Kennedy and Pee Wee Ellis are all singing along with him, and it just has that early '60s doo-wop feel filtered through Van Morrison's Celtic sensibilities. And so that's so by 25 through 21, you don't pull no punches, tearing a dog, Madam George, listen to the lion, and the healing game. None of those are hits, but they are all killer tracks.
They are good choices. And I love listening to the Lion. But one thing about that song is when he sings inside of me, inside of me, inside of me, I always hear him singing sodomy, sodomy, sodomy.
He might be.
So I don't mean to hear it that way, but the way he
Sodomy
pronounces
with Madam
it.
Joy.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So 25 through 21 for me. At number 25 from Back on Top, I have my favorite song, The Philosopher's Stone. Even my best friends don't know me, and I'm turning lead into gold. which I think is a reference to Lita and the Swan. I was reading up on that. But it's got beautiful harmonica, beautiful strings. The strings are just marvelous on that song, and the lyrics are great. But I think what I like best about it is it's just the melody in combination with all of that. It's a beautiful melody. Number 24, I have a song by them, which we are including on here. And this is Baby Please Don't Go. That song has an urgency. I don't know if the drummer's ahead of the beat or what's going on in that song because I'm not a musician, but the song just propels and it's short. It's about 2.5 minutes, but I always love Baby Please Don't Go. Probably best known, I think Big Joe Williams, I think, was the one that kind of made it famous, but many, many people have done it. Lightning Hopkins and Muddy Waters, and it's just a great old blues song, and I think Them does a great, great job on it. Number 23 from Irish Heartbeat. Yep, I've got one of the Celtic songs. I've got My Leg in Love. And you could pick any song from this album. It's just a great album, but I just love his unhinged vocals on here. At the end of the song, he does some very strange, weird vocalizations, and I just love him. You're talking about listen to the Lion. He does just a really interesting kind of coda at the end of that. I don't even think they're words. It's just
Just
he's
whining
just in
boy
the
moan.
moment. But yeah.
He's just doing a whining boy moan.
Number 22, I have, and on this one, I have the studio version. I have Moondance. Moondance is a hard song to deny. Lots of great live versions. It's his most performed song. Um, John Klingberg on bass, if I've got his name right. Wonderful bass. I thought it was a double bass. That's what it sounds like to me. But according to Wikipedia, it's an electric bass, but it
Huh.
sounds like a double bass. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a mistake on Wiki, but the bass is wonderful. And then Jack Schroer on sax is just marvelous. Moondance is just a fun song that I never get tired of. And then number 21, From a Sense of Wonder, I have the title track. And we were talking about wagon wheels and gravy rings and barn bracks. But he also has this line that I love. It's also easy in the spring, but down through January and February is a very different thing. And I take that to mean the seasons of man, and that he's talking about aging. But that's the way I interpret it. I don't know if he meant it that way, but it's just a gorgeous ballad, and it's just got really powerful lyrics. So, Philosopher's Stone, Baby Please Don't Go, My Leg in Love, Moon Dance, and A Sense of Wonder.
And in a sense of wonder, you may call my love Sophia, but I call my love philosophy.
Mhm.
You may call my love wisdom, but I call it the love of wisdom. Um, okay, great choices there, and makes me wish that I'd put a few of them on mine. But like I said, I could easily make this a 1 through 60 and still have leftovers.
Right.
Okay, now uh, from a song that was originally on Beautiful Vision, my number 20, Van Lowe's Stairway.
Mhm.
And Van Lowe's Stairway may not be the best song on Beautiful Vision, but it is the best live version of a song from Beautiful Vision that is done on live at the Grand Opera House, Belfast. And I remember shortly after the Grand Opera House album came out, you pointed out to me how just chilling the backup singers are when they're singing send me, and it just the power of that song. He takes a song that is a great song and makes it even better. I wanted to say something about Van Lowe's Stairway. At the time that Van recorded this album, Beautiful Vision, he was dating a Scandinavian girl, a Swedish girl,
Hmm.
which is why I believe the instrumental track Scandinavia is also on there. But Vanlos is a place in Sweden. All right, so much for that. But listen to it again, and you'll swear he's singing on the Van Love Stairway, the Van Love Stairway. Van does this a lot. He plays with the words, and he won't say what the words are. And if somebody wants to print the lyrics, he won't, correct them. So, the Van Love Stairway, Van Love Stairway, Van Love Stairway. Uh, Number 19, I totally agree with you about Wild Night. I can't get enough of Wild Night. And so why did I choose this version? Well, when Van was being generous and re-releasing his Warner Brothers stuff with bonus tracks, there was an extended, it says alternate version, but there was an extended version of the song.
Hmm.
And it goes on for about 8 minutes. Okay. And so it's great. And so it's just, it's basically the first 5 minutes are the same song, but then he keeps going. And it's some uh, riffing that he did on live versions of it. So the alternate take of Wild Night from Tupelo Honey. Then here's one that's a deep track, but I just absolutely love it. You mentioned Them Song. This is almost not even a Them song. The song is Friday's Child. Okay.
Hmm.
And Van recorded it in 1967, the same year that he did the stuff for Burt Bangs. But it was released under the name Them. And the version that he did then was good. But in 1971, Van did a great performance with a small studio audience at Pacific High Studios. And I mean, everything on there is really good, but the version of Friday's Child, it just cooks. I'm completely. And so, I mean, it makes it into a classic Van track. And again, he says, it's too late to stop now. He says, Friday's Child, you can't stop now. Friday's Child, you can't stop now. But at the end, it's too late to stop now. And, Van's been saying that for a long time. So the Friday's Child from the Pacific High studios from 1971, that live version of it. Number 17, another track originally from Astral Weeks. The version from Astral Weeks is beautiful, Ballerina, but even better to me is the 1980 Montreux production of it. And it's just, and if someone, not just anyone, wanted to get close to you, for instance, me, babe, all you got to do is ring the bell, step right
Yeah.
up, stepping lightly like a ballerina. It's a beautiful song. He even did a variant of the lyrics on the back of the Astral Weeks album, as a little poem. So that is the second of 5 tracks from Astral Weeks, but again, a live version of it from 1990 in Montreux. And for anyone who wasn't watching our earlier things, I believe that there's something magical about Van Morrison and Montreux. The only Montreux show that I know of that didn't totally blow me away was in 1974. And that was good, but the tracks weren't as good. But from ever since then, every time Van goes to Montreux, he's at the absolute top. So,
Mhm.
if you see any unauthorized release of from Montreux, and by the way, if anybody's looking for a Montreux recording that is authorized, the special deluxe version of the Healing Game has a 1987, is that 87? No, 1993 version of Live in Montreux, 1993.
Okay.
Is that when it was? I'm getting old, and by the way, I have to apologize to everyone that I'm numerically dyslexic. There's a reason why I was an English teacher and not a math teacher.
Ah,
I can't get numbers straight, which is why I screwed up totally on our top Van Morrison songs earlier. All right. So after Ballerina, number 16, Purple Heather. Now, this song is Van's redoing of Wild Mountain Time, a Celtic folk song done by the McPeak family, and was also, for those of you that are classic rock fans, you'll know it as a Byrds song. but Van renames it because he changes it a lot. And the version that's on Hard Nose the Highway is really good. This version isn't all that different, but on It's Too Late to Stop Now, Volume 2, from volumes 2 through 4, it's just, he goes, when he says, "There you go, listen," and he does that a lot, listen. And it's just, it's one of those Van moments that, are great. Purple Heather. And again, it's Van being Celtic. So, uh, Van Low Stairway, Wild Night, Friday's Child, Ballerina, Purple Heather.
Great picks. And the producer, by the way, I'm just going to correct it. It's Bert Burns. And you said Bert Bangs. I love it
Oh, Burt Bangs. Yeah.
because it was Bang Records. So I think
Yeah.
I like
Ba-
Bert
ba-
Bangs. I might call
Burt
him that.
Bangs. Sorry about that.
But yeah, marvelous list. I love it. All right. So my 20 through 16, well, I have a song that you just mentioned. Um, and that's Ballerina. But I'm going to pick the version that you saw in concert from Astro Weeks Hollywood. I love this version, Ballerina slash Move On Up. And I think it's a brilliant reworking and it's fun. And when he sings about and the light or whatever is on the right side of your head and everyone laughs. All you got to do is ring the bell. You mentioned that. And then there's a little percussion where they ring a bell. It's a marvelous version. I did want to make a note here, though, that you may not have thought of. You know the cover to Astro Weeks Hollywood. Doesn't he look a little bit like Neil Diamond?
Yeah, I think that photo is a bit modified, not AI. They weren't using it as much then, but photoshopped. They thin him out. I saw him that night. He wasn't that thin. Okay. They skinify him. Um,
Yeah.
and plus, he's smiling. Van practically never smiles on stage. Okay. It's like, oh, this is kind of creepy. He looks like Madame George or something.
But I
Wonderfully.
just, I was so jealous that you got to see that. I think Ballerina Move On Up is probably well, it is my favorite song from Astro Weeks live at the Hollywood Bowl. Number 19 is a song from Weed Fleece, my only song from Weed Fleece. However, I am not picking the Weed Fleece version. And I'm going to really surprise you with this because I'm not a duet fan. I just don't like duets albums very much usually. But on Duets Reworking the Catalog, I love the duet with Mick Hucknall from Simply Red. That's my favorite track from Duets Reworking the Catalog. I think Mick Hucknall has a beautiful voice, and I think he can hold his own with Van. This is the only collaborative song I have on here. Every song on my top 30 is just Van, but I absolutely love Mick and Van doing Streets of Arklow together. So I've gone with that version. I just love it. Beautiful, beautiful vocals, beautiful singing. Number 18 from a common one is Satisfied. This is a special song to me. It's a combination of spirituality and R&B. As you had mentioned, it's kind of right before his new age period. And it's absolutely just wonderful lyrics, but with this up-tempo R&B song, and it's just a beautiful blend. And then you think, oh, this song can't get any better. But then at the 6 minute mark, Pee Wee Ellis on saxophone and Mark Isham on trumpet trade off and they do a back and forth. And that song just keeps getting better and better and better. And I love it. I've got it ranked higher than Summertime in England. That was a tough one, but Satisfied just makes me smile. It's a great song. All right, number 17 from It's Too Late to Stop Now. I love his cover of Sonny Boy Williamson's Help Me. Bring me my nightshirt. That's a such a weird song, and I love the Sonny Boy Williamson too. It's almost a toss-up, but the way that Van does it again, he just takes it and makes it into a Van Morrison song, and it is one of his top five songs that he performs in concert. I mentioned that I went to Setlist FM, and he does help me in concert a lot. So he obviously loves the song. I love the song. Uh, Again, like it's just one of the like Baby Please Don't Go or Lonely Avenue. It's just one of those old classic songs. It's great. And then number 16 from Grand Opera House, live at the Grand Opera House, Belfast, I have his version of Rave On John Donne, his ode to literature and to writers. It's a very unique song and talking about the nuclear age, and it's just a really unusual song, but and I still haven't picked up where he flubs the lyrics, but I
He says,
prefer
"Oh,
this
what
over here.
swine." Would he
What's
say,
that?
"Oh, what sweet"? He normally the lyrics are, "Oh, what sweet wine we drank," but he goes, "Oh, what swine,"
Ah,
and then he corrects himself. "Oh, what swine! Oh, what sweet wine we drink."
I did hear that today. I was playing the song again this morning, so okay, I know what point you mean. Um, John Donne, of course, was a poet from I don't know what, the 1700s, maybe
Yes, the it was yeah, no, actually the 1600s. He was a generation after Shakespeare.
and before
So
Blake, right? Before
yes,
Blake.
yes, very much before Blake. It was
And
England in the 1600s.
he influenced Blake, didn't he?
Hmm. He was a metaphysical poet that was pretty much ignored until the early 20th century when T.S. Eliot kind of re-familiarized people with his stuff.
Just that rave on, rave on. I just love that song. So my 20 through 16 to recap are Ballerina Move On Up, live version, Streets of Arklow with Mick Hucknall, Satisfied, Help Me, and Rave On John Donne.
Right, great tracks. We're doing different ones, but they're great. We can do a composite of them. Now,
Hmm.
if anybody's watching this and getting ready to try to look up my address to firebomb my house because I haven't done Moondance yet, uh, here it is, number 15, Moondance. And I struggled with, okay, do I want to have one studio song from Moondance? Because you're right, it's a classic. It is a classic. But also, I have every note of it memorized because I've heard it so many times. And so I would, once in a while, I like to listen to a different version, but not an entirely different version. And in 1978, Van went back on the road, touring with the Wavelength album and had a really crack band behind him. And he did a version of Moondance in New York City at the Bottom Line. And uh, not only is he finger snapping really great, Moondance, but the second verse is sung by Katie Kassoon, and she was a wonderful backup singer. So that like when she comes in, it's just yes, Katie, and so you know that Van's enjoying that too. So Moondance, originally from Moondance, but I would go with the bottom line version just by a hair.
Hmm.
And then from Irish Heartbeat. Now, I mentioned this a little bit before when we talked about Irish Heartbeat. This is the song that Cindy perfectly described as the the greatest Van Morrison song that Van Morrison did not write, and that is Raglan Road, which has also been done since Van did it. It's been done a few times. I think Brian Kennedy did it. I know Sinead O'Connor did it, and it's and Mark Knopfler did it as well. But Van did it first. Van wasn't the only person to do it first, but it's not actually a traditional song. It is a traditional tune that Patty Maloney put a song, I mean, a lyric by an Irish poet. And I'm ashamed that I can't remember his name right now. It's right on the tip of my brain. But, just look it up and you'll see. But it's just an amazing, it has to do with it's like gypsies And I think on one of the live versions, Van says, this song is an Irish song. It's not about gypsies, but it could be. And,
Mm.
Van always sings about gypsies a lot. But the song Raglan Road, it's about seeing this girl, but there's something special, something mystical about her. And then he says, when the angel woos the clay, he lose his wings at the dawn of the day. So it's like about an angel who falls in love with a beautiful girl and gives up his immortality for that. And boy, is that a Van Morrison thing or what, So that is it's just a song that I have to have on my top 30 list. Um, Number 13, there are two songs kind of close together that are both from the Philosopher's Stone compilation. Both of them, the I told you Van doesn't care much about being correct about having his lyrics printed. He clearly doesn't care much about the time, the year that it was recorded either. Both of those songs say that they were recorded in 1973, which would have been at the time of Hard Knows the Highway. But several Van biographers have insisted that if you look at who the band is at the time, those musicians were never with Van in 1973. They were with
Right.
him in 1972. Okay. So it's either 72 or 73. And I put it as a limbo between the great St. Dominic's preview and the also good but not so great Hard Knows the Highway. Okay. But the two songs, this one actually sounds like it would have been from Hard Knows the Highway. As a matter of fact, it sounds like a prettier version of Snow in San Anselmo. But the song is Contemplation Rose.
Mm.
And he's playing off of There Is a Rose in Spanish Harlem. There's that but Van just his singing on it is it's really it's not so much the lyrics as the vocal is just really beautiful. um and then when he says Puerto Rican nursery rhyme, and angels with the snow in time, and I'm keeping my eyes on a rose in Spanish Harlem. um Okay, so that's Contemplation Rose from The Philosopher's Stone, 1972-73. Then Summertime in England. Now, I agree with you. The studio version is good, but Van did so much great stuff live with this. And I'm sure that you're also familiar. I mean, for a while, Pee Wee was doing this with him. Van would start riffing on just, he would make up song as in the middle of the song, he would start making up lyrics. And Pee Wee would echo him like a half echo. As soon as Van starts singing, Pee Wee sings the same thing, like, hey now, hey now, hey now, Well, um, on the live in Montreux 1990, his saxophone. Pee Wee wasn't with him. Pee Wee Ellis. I almost said Pee Wee Herman. Pee Wee Ellis wasn't with him, and so, but Richie Buckley is, and Richie does a great job. And there, if you, I don't know if it's still available on YouTube, but you used to be able to see it, and you could see that Van was laughing and Richie was laughing, and Richie was keeping up with everything Van did. But then Van says, "Why don't you go ahead and scream?" And when he does that, Richie takes his saxophone and just wails on it. And it just like it's one of those. I got goosebumps right now just thinking
Yeah.
about it. Okay. So to me, that's my favorite version of the epic Summertime in England. And then we go to another epic, and this is yet another song originally from Astral Weeks. This is Cypress Avenue, but the version of it from It's Too Late to Stop Now. And this is when it's near the end of the show. He's doing his high kicks. And if you don't know that he's doing kicks, you wonder what he says, over there? Oh, over here. He's kicking towards the audience. And then someone says, turn it on. It's turned on already. And then And then he yells out, "It's too late to stop now!" And the band kicks in again. But that version of Cypress Avenue, it just it adds a it's like taking the original beautiful version from Astro Weeks and making it in Technicolor 3D, you know. It's just there's
Mhm.
so much going on in it. Um, and I still am not sure when he is singing what sounds like "Wait for me to come, wait for me to come, wait for me to come." I don't know if that goes along with the sodomy, 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 but uh, but you know that's Van. Um, okay, so that was Cypress Avenue, beautiful, beautiful song in any version of it. So what we got here is um, Moondance, Raglan Road, Contemplation Rose, Summertime in England, and Cypress Avenue.
Good list. I need to listen to Complantation Rose,
Contemplation Rose, yes.
Contemplation Rose, uh, again, because it's not coming to my mind. So, uh, but yeah, great list. I want to listen to that song again. Well, wonderful. So now we're at fifth. That was 15 through 11, right?
Yep.
So my number 15 is a song that you've mentioned already, and that's In the Garden. So I have that a little higher than you do. Really special song, and you're right, there's many great live versions. I'm going to go with the studio version on this. In my notes, I've got Christianity meets romance. It's really unique, um, very unique. And of course, it beckons back to Brown Eyed Girl talking about misty wet in the garden and in the garden, misty wet with rain. And just you and me and the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost, no guru, no method, no teacher. I mean, the lyrics are wonderful. The only thing I think I almost went with the live version because the only thing that's strange about this song is it has a really fast fade out. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's this great song and then it just goes right at the end. And I've never liked the way it has that fast fade. Live versions, of course, don't do that, but I still went with the studio version anyway. Just what a special song, and it's a favorite of his audience and one of his most performed songs. And yeah, I can't say enough about In the Garden. This top 15 is really killer. Number 14, a song you mentioned, Madam George. So I've got that a little bit higher than you do. And what the hell is this song about? Well, he was doing stream of consciousness lyrics, but it remains mysterious. And so over the years, I've been able to listen to the song and just hear it in different ways. It's a very malleable song, if that's the right word. And I love it. And playing games of chance and playing dominoes and drag and all these different lines and the ones that you mentioned. It's a song that makes me curious, Madam George. It makes me curious. Love that song. Number 13, I have the title track from St. Dominic's Preview, talking about Edith Piaf and every Hank Williams Railroad. And I don't know if I even know what the song's about exactly, but I think it has steel guitar in it too. It's a wonderful song. St. Dominic's Preview. Yeah, I don't know. It's a song that, like Madam George, is a song that changes over the years, and I hear it differently than I used to. So it's wonderful, wonderful. Number 12, a song that you've talked about, and I'm sure is going to be on your list. I'm sure it's going to be on your list, is Tupelo Honey. Um, you were the one that pointed out to me that he sings like a saxophone and never repeats his phrasing. The phrasing is superb on this. It's a beautiful song. You can take all the tea in China and drop it in a big brown envelope in the middle of the deep blue sea, if I got those lyrics right. And this to me might be his most beautiful love song. Um, Tupelo honey, I guess, is a kind of honey from Mississippi. And he just borrowed that and it works and it's beautiful. And yeah, I don't know. It's over the years, I just marvel at that song. Number 11 is just missing the top 10 is the title track from Astral Weeks. Viaducts and slipstreams. It's elusive, it floats. A marvelous song that keeps revealing more and more over the years. I really like this little 15 through 11 patch. It's a good little group. In the Garden, Madame George, St. Dominic's Preview, Tupelo Honey, Astral Weeks. Can't go wrong with those five songs.
Absolutely not. Okay, we're doing the next five now, isn't that right? Going counting down from
10 to
10
6.
through 6. Okay. Another song from Philosopher's Stone, and we talked about Madame Joy. Well, in 72, Van wrote a song called Madame Joy. It was like I've been insisting that I was singing Madame Joy, not Madame George, But he writes this, it's a completely different song, and it's very up tempo, and it's about this woman. I think she's a woman, but she's also a muse. But she's going to the university to teach it, and all the boys will turn their heads as she walks down the street. And then he says, "Here she comes walking. Here she comes talking. I do believe it's Madame George." And then near the end, he says, you know, he starts doing his, and all the boys would turn around, turn around, turn around, and he just gets really crazy with that. And it's just a song that excites me. Okay, it's not a profound song, but it's an exciting song and it's a beautiful song and it's got a great melody. It was when Van was at his peak writing melodies. And as much as I love Van's voice even still, and we talked about this at the beginning, I believe that Van's singing, I won't necessarily say his voice, but his singing was at its peak from approximately 1971 or 72 through 1979. Now, he was doing some weird things at that time. He was starting to experiment with his singing. He was almost doing an operatic thing at times. He's singing like an opera singer. He doesn't sing like a rock singer. Um, and I would say 71 because of Tupelo Honey. But this has that Van Morrison perfect Irish tenor. Um, then number 9, Rough God Goes Riding. And the version that it's from the Healing Game. The version that I chose originally was going to be from the live at in Belfast at the waterfront, but you can find it easily, and it's just as good of a version, maybe even slightly better, just slightly better. The version that he did at Montreux, in when the year that came out, and so Rough God Goes Riding, and he says, now they're moaning like a dog in a manger, and Georgie Fame goes, "Oh," and like and it's funny. Now it's true on the waterfront version, you hear Van laugh just before then, which is very unusual to hear him laugh on stage. But what I like about this version at Montreux, the ending is a little bit better. Um, I would never dream of accusing Van of ripping anyone off, especially Bruce Springsteen. But Bruce Springsteen had a shtick right around the time this came out, where he talked about getting down before the television set, and and being saved by the television. And at the end of this song, says Van says, "Now I want you to get down on your knees in front of the TV and give me all your cash." And it's funny, but it's like, all right, Van, you've been listening to Bruce here, but it's either one of those is great. So that version of Rough God. From Days Like This, Uh, the song is Ancient Highway, the original studio version of it, and it's this is I this is a song that Sydney thought I'd switched the CDs and was playing an earlier Van Morrison CD because she said, "This is the Van Morrison I like." I said, "This is the last song on the album we've been listening to." But he says, you'll be crying again. You'll be crying again. And he has this harmonica and he starts singing into his harmonica and he doesn't stop playing the harmonica. He's playing the harmonica and singing at the same time. And it's like, okay, Van, you're doing what you do. And it's a great, uh, so Ancient Highway is another really great one. Brown Eyed Girl, a classic. Another one like Moondance, I've heard so many times. And I chose the version from the um, Bottom Line, New York City, 1978, um, just because it's a little bit more punchy. It has a little bit more body to it. Uh, it's one of the few songs that was released on It's Too Late to Stop Now on the expanded edition that he was a little bit cursory. At the time, Van didn't like the song, or he said he didn't like the song, and he was just going through it to satisfy the audience. By 1978, clearly he liked the song again because he was really getting into it. Um, and then the song number six, the song that I consider the greatest rock and roll song ever. And as I pointed out, it was the song that made me fall in love with rock and roll. It's Gloria. Now, the song was a them song, but the way that Van does that on It's Too Late to Stop Now, Van morphs into James Brown. Um, and when he goes, it's just plain greasy. And it's just so good. His Gloria then, that's to me, it's the Gloria to beat all Glorias.
And that's from what?
It's too late to stop now.
Oh, that one. Okay. Wow. So recap those for me, those
Okay, that would be Madam Joy, Rough God Goes Riding, Ancient Highway, Brown Eyed Girl, Gloria.
two of those songs are in my 35 to 31 that just missed. So I like those. Yeah, I like those songs a lot. Well, this is exciting because now we're down to the top 10 and yeah, these are
Top,
songs we
top
really
five.
love. Number 10 for me is Caravan. So it made the top 10 and I've got the Last Waltz version. I imagine you'll have that on your list. With the band, he just commands the stage. He's on fire. It's kind of coming off a rare period when he wasn't recording or performing much, that sort of period right before period of transition, no pun intended, but he had that 3 year gap. And during that time, he came on there, and I suppose people might have thought he was going to be a little rusty, but he just absolutely, turn on your radio, and he's got the audience in the palm of his hand, and the band is great behind him, and you could tell everyone's having a great time. And Caravan is just one of his best songs, and I got to go with the version from the movie The Last Waltz. Number 9 is from Beautiful Vision. I have Cleaning Windows, signature song. This is so, it's autobiographical. I love it. I hear it as literal and metaphorical. He's talking about an early job and going on his lunch break and listening to music and having Paris buns and all this kind of thing. But then cleaning windows to me is also these windows, and he's cleaning these windows, and he's seeing new things in life. And I think it works. You can listen to the song literally and enjoy it, or you can listen to the song as a metaphor about life, and it works that way. And it's got Mark Knopfler on guitar, who he later tried to work with, and they scrapped those songs, but it worked here. and Cleaning Windows, popular live song. Um, it's just so Van. It's just wonderful. It's beautiful. I love it. Number eight, you mentioned this. I've got Gloria. I'm going with the studio version on this one by them. Such a great riff, and yeah, many people have covered it and done great versions of it. Sometimes taking it somewhere else, like Patti Smith did. But I think them still had the best version. I love Gloria. I love the original. And the more I listen to it, I'm surprised that this got on the radio without being censored. This to me is a really highly sexual song. Um, it's very direct, but I love it for that. And talking about the about Gloria coming into his room at midnight and some things are happening, some fireworks, and leaning on the parking meter. What a great song! And of course, the her name is Gloria, spelling it out. Classic. So this isn't just a great Van Morrison song; it's one of the great '60s radio singles. I love it. Number seven is a track that you mentioned. Um, Banlow's Stairway from Grand Opera House, Belfast. Yeah, I have that number seven. That's how much I love it. Those backup singers, you got Blanca Thornton and trying to think of the other two, but just yeah, wonderful. But then it's got this great Hammond organ in it that's very churchy, but it builds the song. And I, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I love this song so much, but I do. This is absolutely my favorite version, and it's great. Number six from Into the Music, I have And the Healing Has Begun. Special song, special song. He's feeling it, yelling out like James Brown. Um, Only Van can get away with this because really, when you look at it, it's slightly creepy but magnificent because Van just sings it sincerely. But some of those lines about come up to the windowsill here, I think I got some share. Yeah, I got some port. Some people would say the song is not aged well, but I disagree. I think it's great. He sings, put on your Easter bonnet. He's telling her how to dress, you know? I could see where a person might be disturbed by the song, but I don't. I think it's just beautiful. I think he's just in love with this person who might be a girlfriend, might be a prostitute. I don't know. I have no idea. Some woman's up in his room, and it just the title and the healing has begun. He has a lot of songs about healing, and he feels you can find redemption through romance, through love, through sex, whatever. Um, Maybe I'm misinterpreting the song, but to me, the waters run really deep on this song. I love it. So my 10 through 6 is Caravan, Cleaning Windows, Gloria, Van Low Stairway, and The Healing Has Begun.
Okay, now we're going to go back and forth with one song at a time, right?
Right. We're going to
Okay,
you'll do five, I'll do five, and we'll go back and forth.
got it. Okay, well, my number five is "And the Healing Has Begun," the same version, the studio version of it. And I I do not believe it is a seduction song. I believe it is a romance song, a song about divine love, but also carnal love. He's bringing the two of them, just like with Marvin Gaye doing sexual healing. If
Mm,
if
mm.
Van needs to be censured for this song, then granted, Marvin's dead, but Marvin should be censured for sexual healing.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's a song about finding transcendence through romance, and I think, for Van, there's music involved too. I'm gonna put on this Muddy Waters record you have here,
Mm.
um, and so it's like they go up to the apartment, and he's awkward Van Morrison, difficulty. He's not a smooth talker, but and the other thing Cindy pointed out is for Van started doing in this a bit later than this in the 80s in particular because this is from 79. But in the 80s, Van started kind of doing recitations. He started reciting poetry in his songs, and she was concerned. I mean, she's not concerned, but she was bothered by the fact that he would do it so flat and put so little emotion in it. But in this song, he put so much emotion. You know, it's like Van, you old horn dog, you. So it's beautiful when it goes. I can't stand myself,
Yeah.
and there's just so many whoops and hollers in it, and it's always been one of my favorite songs by Van. So it was my number five.
Yeah, great. And I love it's interesting because of the tempo. It's one of these mid-tempo songs that he doesn't, usually his songs are faster or slower, and it's got this mid-tempo thing where where it cooks but it doesn't rock.
Oh, and it's a revisiting of Madame George.
Is it?
Yeah, it follows the same chord changes, the same basic melody, and like Madame George begins on the Cypress Avenue, and the beginning of "And the Healing Has Begun," and we'll walk down the avenue again, and it has the violin just like Madame
Right.
George does, and it's basically Madame George Part Two.
The violin is very similar. That I hear. So yeah, wonderful choice. And number five for me is one that you already mentioned. Let me make sure I'm going off memory here. Let me just make sure. Yeah, it's Cypress Avenue from It's Too Late to Stop Now. Um, the what's the right word? Not symbiosis, but the telepath. That's the word I'm looking for. There's a telepathic relationship between the Caledonia Soul Orchestra and the band and him, and he just does those motions and they follow, and it's magical. There's something about this band, you can see it on video. They're watching him, they're watching every move. Of course, that comes from James Brown, but this is not James Brown like in other words, genre wise, it doesn't remind me of James Brown, but it reminds me of James Brown and that relationship between the band and the singer and the performer. So they're watching him, they're reacting to him, and he does the song differently on different nights. And this version from It's Too Late to Stop Now is magical. And wait, 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 and then just stop the band on a dime, and it's special. And like you said, when the person says "Turn it on," he goes, "Turned on already." It's just great, And there's sometimes later in his career, there's less of that rapport with the audience. But here in this club, he was uh, he was riffing off the audience, and it was great. So Cypress Avenue can't. I'm in total agreement with you on how great that song is, and it cracked my top five.
Number four. Now we get to Tupelo Honey. Okay, the studio version. You're right. He sings like a saxophone. Most singers either model their singing style after a piano or a guitar. And I pointed this out to my friend EJ, and he said, "Yeah, you're right," because I introduced him to Van Morrison. Van, as a sax player, he plays his voice like a horn. But the other thing is how many times, I haven't even bothered to count, but how many times does he sing the words, "She's as sweet as Tupelo honey"? And he never says it the same way twice. She's as sweet as Tupelo honey. She's as sweet as Tupelo honey. And it's different every time. She's an angel of the first degree. But what I find now, this is just my opinion, but this song was 1971. Shanna had been born the year before.
Hmm.
And I've known this song since I was in high school. But Um, in 1991 or thereabouts, when my daughter Kaylee was 1 year old, I was listening to Tupelo Honey, and I said, "Oh my
Uh,
God, this is a love song to his daughter." There's nothing sexual about it. She's as sweet as Tupelo Honey. She's an angel of the first degree, which is why it's especially poignant when now that Shanna is grown up, they do the song together, you know?
uh,
Um, so, I mean, I might be wrong about this, but I'm totally convinced that this song is not about Janet. Maybe it's about both, but I don't think it's about Janet as much as it's about Shanna. It's a song. It's a love song to his baby girl, and that makes it even more special for me.
I love your interpretation. I'm going to listen to that song and listen to it that way. Wow. Okay, number four, Sweet Thing from Astro Weeks. Sheer poetry, gorgeous melody, beautiful arrangement. Yeah, you know the lyrics better than I do. I'll let you, you're probably going to talk about this song, but Sweet Thing is my favorite song from Astro Weeks, and that's saying a lot because, I've got Madame George on here. I've got um, the title track and then a live version of Ballerina. So I've got four Astro Week songs on here, but I'm picking Sweet Thing as my favorite. And like I say, I suspect you're going to talk about it. So I think I'll yield to you on that. Number four, Sweet Thing from Astro Weeks.
Okay, we're almost there for me, but we have St. Dominic's Preview, a song I have loved since, like I said, I was in high school and Cindy got me the album, and I still love the original studio version. But I said in 1972, Van started doing some strange things at times with his singing. He would it's not exactly mumbling, but he would slur his words together. And, it took me forever to figure out what he was singing at times on there. And like when sings, and I hear blue strings of no regret, he says, with no regretty on. No regretty on. And he does stuff like that throughout the song. But I still love the song and it has great horns. But um, a few years back, there was a Celtic television show in the UK called Salt, the Spirit of Music. And they asked Van if he would do a song for it. And he did what essentially is a St. Dominic's preview unplugged. And his vocal is beautiful. And you can make out what he's singing better, but it's also in every way, it equals the studio version. So I think you might be able to find it on Spotify, but this version of St. Dominic's Preview, and it makes it so clear some of what he's singing. This is one of the songs that you're right. He said it was about a dream that he had. Okay. And so you don't want to read too much into it, but this is one of the early songs where you can tell he's a little bit miffed at the music business because, you know, um, all the record companies have paid out for the wine. You've got
Mhm.
everything in the world you ever wanted, but right about now you wish it were a smile. Um, and no one making no commitments to anybody but themselves, talking behind closed doorways, get outside empty shelves, and for every cross country corner. But I love when he says, just to get hip and get wet with the
Mhm.
jet set. And that's something I didn't get until he said, just to be hip and get wet with the jet set. He's sneering at the people in the music business. And it's weird that such a beautiful song should have such a sneer in it. But that's Van St. Dominic's Preview.
And which
My number
version?
three. The version from Salt. Also, if you get the Healing Game, the special edition of the Healing Game not only came with a remastered version of the Healing Game and a live version for Montreux of that show, but it also has songs from that period, and that version of it um, is on that disc. So you can it's pretty easy to get.
It's on Spotify.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Yes.
So I can put it on our playlist.
Yes. And
Wow.
anyone who loves the song, if they haven't heard that version, I think will be enamored
Okay.
of it.
That's the one I'll put on here. Um, and when we have different versions, I probably will put both versions on the playlist. Why not? So
Sure, why not?
number three for me is a song that I'm sure you love. Um, and I think people will be shocked that I have it this high because I have it at the number three position. Everybody loves this song. All Van fans love this song. But to have it at number three, this is how much I love this song, and it's half of a cover. It's from Into the Music. It's all in the game. I get emotional just talking about it. I almost lost it. It's all in the game. You know what they're writing about. It's an old Tommy Edwards song from the 50s, and he transforms it, absolutely transforms it. Um, it's so beautiful. Sometimes he won't call, but then he'll show up with a small bouquet. I'm emotional just thinking about it. And then he puts that song at the end. And on the playlist, this will be two tracks, but it's really one song. Meet me down by the river. Meet me down by the pylons. What? It's unbelievable. Um, the emotion in this song and the beauty. Um, I can't get enough of it. It's my third favorite Van Morrison song.
Wow.
That's it.
It is a great song. It really is. My number two is Cheating, because it's two Van Morrison songs in one. Two Vans in one. It's from Montreux, 1990, and it is Sweet Thing, Astral Weeks. Now, it's mostly because of Sweet Thing, but he does almost all the lyrics to Astral Weeks as well. And it's great how, he does that. But for me, it's the version of Sweet Thing. You've got, instead of a really young Van Morrison, you've got a middle-aged Van, not old yet, but middle-aged, 1990. And when he says, and I shall never grow so old again. And he sounds like he means every word. But then when he sings the line, my favorite line from this song, always been my favorite line from the song, Kaylee's too. Um, I shall drive my chariot down your streets and cry, hey, it's me, I'm dynamite, and I don't know why. And when Kaylee graduated from high school, that was her senior quote. But she loves the song so much. I shall drive my chariot down your streets and cry, hey, it's me, I'm dynamite. Now, in this version, he says, I'm pretty sure he says, as I pass by, but still, it's the same thing. And his voice is just so full and rich. And that version of Sweet Thing, Astral Weeks, and again, this I'm sure is also available on YouTube.
That's a marvelous version. I agree with you. I went with the studio version, but you know, that version on Montreux is fantastic. I agree with you 100%. So number two for me is Listen to the Lion. And I am going with the version on It's Too Late to Stop Now, Volume 4 from the Rainbow Club in
Mm-hmm.
London. His growls are just transcendent. Um, I'm used to the version on the regular It's Too Late to Stop Now, but in listening to this project. This is my favorite song from It's Too Late to Stop Now, volumes two, three, and four. It's Listen to the Lion from the Rainbow Club. And I think the way you can tell he's just feeling it. He does that song, he would do that song differently from night to night. And I just love the growls on here. I just think these are my favorite growls. And so I'm going to go with that. But this is, as you said, and in my notes, which I'm not even looking at because I've got them memorized, there is a masculinity in this song that's nice to hear. In this day and age, where we've got a lot of questions about what it means to be masculine, I hear this as a man's song in all the best ways possible. And I love that. I love it in the same way. If Joni Mitchell sings a song like A Woman of Heart and Mind, which is one of the most feminine songs I've ever heard, where it helps me understand the feminine point of view. When I listen to this version of Listen to the Lion, I feel masculinity. And I think that should be celebrated, and I love it. Number two, Listen to the Lion.
Okay, do we have a drum roll for my number one? Because this is not just my favorite Van Morrison song, but this is my favorite song, period, of all time. You
Mm.
just asked me if you only could listen to one song for the rest of your life, what would it be? It's Caravan. But the version, I totally agree with you. Van outdoes himself from the studio version, and he outdoes himself from It's Too Late to Stop Now. In 1976, he was totally simpatico with the band. Okay. They understood Van. He knew that. He was friends with them. He lived in Woodstock for a while. And I think it was Robbie Robertson would joke about how Van would come over and his uh, Irish brogue was so thick that they couldn't understand what he was saying, but they would just like, laugh about the things he was saying. But uh, so he was close to the band all along. He's firing perfectly on all cylinders. And a little bit of a background. You're right. This was during his period of transition. And he was invited by Robbie Robertson and by Bill Graham to play at the band's last waltz, which was their, kind of goodbye concert on Thanksgiving. Everybody that was there was invitation and, Thanksgiving meal. Well, uh, Van said, yes, I will be there. And then when he got there, he got stage fright. Okay. He got
Oh,
terrible stage fright. And so he immediately ran back to his hotel room. And somebody said to Bill Graham, hey, Van just skittered off, and we need him. Um, and so Bill Graham went, come on, Van, you got to do this. Well, Van said, I got to change my clothes. So he puts on this kind of weird purple brown outfit, that is like weird. But he changed his clothes. He came out, and apparently all these, I think it was Jackson Brown, said all of these people, Eric Clapton, they were all waiting, except for the band themselves. They were all waiting in the wings, wondering, like, what's he going to do? Is he going to freeze up? And he just totally rocked the song from beginning to end. And I think there was this nervous energy that blew his stage fright away. And if you ever want to see how something positive can overcome something negative, that version of Caravan.
yeah.
Number one.
Wow. I knew you loved the song. I didn't know it was your number one, but yeah, I had it number 10. So we both have that in our top 10. Same version. Number one for me, I'm glad I can now talk about it because I watch a reaction channel called Just JP and I love it. and he was asking people for their favorite song. I don't know what my favorite song is, but I put this one up on the channel and he reacted to it on my birthday by pure coincidence. He didn't know it was my birthday. And he listened to this song for the first time on camera, mentioned my name. And so now I get to put it on my personal Facebook page, which I didn't do because it would have spoiled our video. And that's Into the Mystic. Um, why is this my favorite? There's just something about this song. It's not as emotional to me as my track three. It's all in the game, which you could tell I got emotional talking about. But this one, there's just something mythical about it, something very Greek about it. Um, Homer and all that kind of thing. It's a seeking song, and it just has the most beautiful lyrics. And the bonnie boats were one as we sailed into the mystic. And those lyrics just trip off his tongue. And then, of course, those foghorns blow, and in come the horns. And it's just beautiful. And I can hardly wait to post that reaction from that other channel. I think you'll get a kick out of watching it. But to watch somebody listen to the song for the first time, it's pretty exciting. And yeah, it's a typical choice. So I was just looking at ranker.com where people get on there and they rank their favorite songs. And this is number one for Van Morrison fans on the internet. So it's a typical choice. It's a predictable choice, but there you go. I'm sometimes predictable. Well, this was exciting.
It was for me too. And this time I didn't screw up as much because I was ready to do the whole thing. Okay. It was like I didn't lose my place. So, and if people watched the countdown of the albums, I'm sorry for that. I'm normally not so verbally inept. I was sort of nervous because not nervous about being on YouTube, but nervous about am I remembering what I need to say? And I noticed also when I was watching it that because I had to keep looking at the screen and I looked like a mouth
Yeah.
breather at times. Um, so, you know, uh, anyway, this was really fun. I looked forward to this very, very much. And it was great to hear your choices also, Jamie.
So hang on, and I will. I'm going to hit the stop record button, but I want to talk to you a little bit off camera
Okay.
about our next project. And yeah, thank you. Wonderful comments. I loved your list, and I'm looking forward to making the playlist. And I'll put a link below so all the viewers can go there and listen to these songs. And appreciate it very much, Jim. Thank you very much. Hang on while I stop the recording.